If you don't know already, Druid is going to be extremely strong in Season 10. I already have almost every single Druid build prepped for the season, and you can find all those builds in the link underneath the video on my Mobalytics profile. But right now I'm going to go through and I'm going to tier list all of the builds and talk about each of them specifically. I'm going to tell you what's best overall, what's going to be the best pit pushers, and with the increased focus on Infernal Hordes this season, I'm going to focus on that a lot. So you're going to see things ranked higher than average, purely because they're really good at Infernal Hordes. But if you enjoy my content, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what you're most excited for. Now let me break down this tier list. So let's start by getting some of the bad builds out of the way. So first off, if you're looking forward to Trample Slide, unfortunately Trample Slide is still not very good. It's not necessarily D tier. I'd say that you could probably get it somewhere in like a B or C tier, but I'm going to drop it down here just because these are builds that I don't think you should try and play. So let's also get rid of Rabies. We're not going to be building around Poison Creeper. Bulwark build is still dead. For Lacerate, it's a situation where it may have a decent amount of damage, but it's just not fun to play, and it's a little bit hard to use. I really love the idea behind using Lacerate, but I hope they do a rework on it. And for Wind Shear, it's kind of in a similar situation. It's got okay damage, but it's kind of janky to use, and it's just not fun to play. It definitely needs way more AoE, and I think it could be a pretty cool skill if they reworked it, but as of right now, it's getting almost no play. And some of these skills will just never actually be builds. I also think Hurricane's too janky, and if I was going to do one of them between Hurricane and Cataclysm because they're kind of similar, I'd rather do Cataclysm. Alright, I think we're down to the actual builds that you might want to play this season. Now, surprisingly, most of these builds are pretty good. So for B tier, these ones are actually going to be a lot of question marks because even though there was PTR testing, some of them changed. So for example, Tornado. I think Tornado could easily be an A tier. I don't think it's going to be an S tier, but it could be. But most likely this is a B tier option. One of them that's kind of a very similar build to Tornado in terms of how you build it is Lightning Storm. And this one I'm actually going to put into A. And the reason I put it above Tornado is because the Lightning Storm has a little more area of effect and range, which makes it really good for Infernal Hordes. I also don't need Blood Howl. One of the best leveling builds this season is going to be Earth Spike. And this one could actually be an S tier. It just depends what your definition of S tier is. For this list, I'm actually going to keep it in A tier. And that's because I try and focus on an overall for a build. And I don't think Earth Spike is as good at doing things like Infernal Hordes, for example. But it is a very solid build, and it's probably my top pick for leveling. Speaking of leveling, another one that's really good for leveling is Cataclysm. This one, as a dedicated build, I don't really like it because it's a little bit janky. So realistically, I would put it in B tier for me. But overall, it's probably more like A tier, but for playability reasons, I'm putting it in B tier. However, it is really good for Infernal Hordes. So you could run it as a dedicated build, or as some of my builds are. For example, with my Lightning Storm this season, I went for Cataclysm with it, so that you can pair it and have even more AoE for the Infernal Hordes. For our first S tier builds, I'm going to go ahead and put both of our companion builds there. Ravens has a little more AoE, and I think in general this season, Ravens is going to be the better choice between the two. But either one, pick your poison, is going to be very good. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that with our seasonal powers, we're able to turn these into core skills, which not only opens up different options that we normally don't have, but that power alone is also giving us a big multiplier. So it's just a lot of new options, as well as a lot of new power for companions. Now I'm actually going to make one C tier build, and the only reason for this is because I just don't like it. I'm not a fan of Stoneburst. Ever since they nerfed Overpower and changed how this is, I just feel like it's not worth the investment because I don't really like the playstyle around it. But unlike these other D tier builds, I think this one actually has a little bit more power in it. It's just not one I enjoy as much. Next up, we got another A tier build, and that's going to be our Boulder. Now Boulder could be really strong this season, but I specifically designed my Boulder build this season around AoE clear for Infernal Hordes, but it still gets enough of that damage from the boulders that it's really strong. So mine's actually going to be called Boulder Storm, and you're going to have to keep your eyes out for that video. Because in that build, I'm incorporating Lightning Storm, Boulder, and Cataclysm, which means we're doing way more AoE clear, but we're going to be buffing our Boulder a lot. But this build has a lot of potential, and it's the one I'm most excited for because it's the most unique of any of the builds. Next up, we've got a build that I'm always excited for, and that's Stormclaw. Now, Stormclaw, unfortunately, is in D tier. No, I'm just kidding. Of course, it's not D tier. So Stormclaw is actually S tier. Now, I'm going to put it at the back of S tier because I still have some questions around what changed from the PTR, but I cleared pit 140 on PTR with Stormclaw, and I did a lot of changes to the build that actually added in a lot of the power that they nerfed from it. But if I was able to clear 140 on PTR and they nerfed it by 3 times, that's still very high, and I'm pretty sure I got most of that power back. So we'll see what happens on live. But for now, it's at the bottom of S tier, and Stormclaw is always underrated by other creators, so it'll be funny when people realize how strong it is. Next up, we've got Landslide. Landslide, I would say B tier. This is maybe more of a bias thing. I've never been a big fan of Landslide personally. I think it could definitely be an A tier build, but I think the only way that it really moves to A tier for me is if you run Nature's Fury and do the Lightning Storm pairing. And with all the changes they've made, it could probably work out pretty well. But I'm just going to go ahead and throw in B tier for me personally. Then we have the strongest build of the season, or at least the best guess of what it'll be, and that's Pulverize. So Pulverize was already really strong last season, but not only did they fix the bug with it, or at least they said they did, so we'll see what happens in live. But with Chaos Armor, we're able to move the weapon off of our weapon slot and into our gear slot. That means we get a doubled offensive aspect while getting a better passive on our Rotting Lightbringer. And since we're able to get the temper for Pulverize on our two-handed weapon, that means that the Masterworking on our Rotting Lightbringer can go into the willpower. So there's a lot of power there. Next up, we've got Shred. Now Shred, I'm gonna move it to the top of A tier. It has really good damage, insane mobility, and you can build it in a way to do massive AoE if you set it up with like the ultimate and Erida's combo. So it has the ability to AoE clear as well, but I don't think it's quite making it into S tier. And then finally, the last skill is going to be Fleshrender, and this one is going to go to the top of S tier. Now realistically for me, if I had to place this build, I would say probably closer to the bottom of S tier. And that's mostly because it can be somewhat janky or a little bit hard to get online. It's not one you can do very early in the game. But in terms of overall power, it is definitely up there. So there's definitely some big question marks here that weren't able to be tested on the PTR because the PTR had bugs and that kind of thing. But I do think this is a relatively accurate layout. And realistically, you could probably run with almost any build this season and still make it work and level up all of your own glyphs. I don't think any of these builds are doing under Pit 100. Just for a frame of reference, with very little time and effort contributed into them on the PTR, I was able to break 120 on basically all of these builds. Like I said, 140 on Stormclaw, at least 110 on all of these builds. And anything I didn't get to, I was able to play last season, and I know there's way more power this season, so I know for a fact that all of these are going to be able to hit over tier 100. Even one that was particularly hurting last season, which was Boulder, was still clearing Pit 95, and that was without all the extra damage and the Chaos Armor. So pick whatever you're going to have the most fun with, and make sure you comment below and let me know which builds I should focus on first. Over the next 24 hours, I'm going to be putting out my leveling build. I'll be putting out any build that I have PTR footage for over the next couple days. And then as I get hands-on in the season and get some time to play, I'm going to be putting out builds for all of the other ones. So make sure you spam those comments and let me know exactly which ones you're looking for. And again, don't forget to click on the link under the video to go to my Mobalytics where I've got all the written guides. And keep in mind that those might change a little bit over the next few days as I'm optimizing and creating my videos for them. But I really appreciate you guys watching the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Daddy Druid out.
Subscribe to Scream Heart. He's more than an old fart. He makes lots of fun builds. I promise his streams chill. He should probably be faster. Come watch this disaster.